Hello everyone, this is Jason from Prime Time Aquatics. Thank you so much for being here. Today we are going to be reviewing a filter now that we've got in the fish room and had it in the fish room for a little while. It's the filter that is on the tank right behind me, the 75-gallon Lake Tanganyikan setup. And it's this guy here. It's not a brand new filter or by any stretch of the imagination, but it is the Fluval 407. And like I said, it's been on that 75-gallon behind us. And we're about to put this one on a 75-gallon just off screen. And so I wanted to take you through, show you this filter because it's been up and running now for a couple months in our fish room and we really like it. It's been very, very quiet. So let's go ahead and take a closer look. I'm going to unbox it for you, show you what it looks like. And of course, with everything that we do, we will be doing a long-term review in about a year or so after we've had even more experience with this filter. All right, so obviously the first thing you're going to get in the box is going to be the canister itself. Pretty easy to operate. You've just got the two latches here. You open these things up. You make sure they're not latched on the bottom. And then this part, the top, just pulls right out the motor. So that's what we've got going on here. A little piece of paper that we don't need. And so you can see here, that's what we've got at the top. Now, in the canister itself, we've got a space for lots and lots of media. Here's one of the things I like about this particular filter. So this whole piece here just pulls right out. You can see here we've got some sponge over here. We've got some sponge over here. I would say this is around medium pore sponge. This is definitely more of a fine sponge right here. And so we have that. Now we take this top part off right here, this little plastic piece, and here's where things get fun. This was a great idea on Fluval's part. This little red thing, you can pull out the entire internal part of the canister. And then if we let this go, you got to be careful because now it's all disconnected. But you can see here the top part, we have got some more sponge here at the top. This next part here, they've given us lots of what appears to be activated carbon. The third compartment of the four, we've got some biomedia right here. And then finally, the last compartment, we have a space for some filter floss. Now for us, what we typically do, I don't tend to use this. I will use either more sponge or filter floss. I just don't feel it's necessary to use the biomedia, but it's certainly a great idea and I'm glad they included it. We will definitely, I'm trying to do this now with two hands leaning this all on my legs. The activated carbon, we don't use that. So again, more sponge, more filter floss for us. And then this top part we will definitely include because that's got some, so this is actually a phosphate remover, sorry. So we'll keep this in there, so the phosphate remover, and we might actually keep the activated carbon in there as well. Just again, because for a 75-gallon aquarium, which I think this is perfectly appropriate for, this is a great filter, and a lot of people ask that question. It's like, well, what if I've got a heavily stocked 55 or a 75? I will show you this aquarium a little bit up close, and so if you're looking at it here, there are a lot of fish in here. They're all cichlids, Lake Tanganyikan cichlids, some shell dwellers, some Cyprichromis. We've got some rock dwellers. We've got, I think there's 3 or 4 dwarf petricola in here, a couple bristlenose. I would not call this tank lightly stocked. It gets a decent amount of food every day. And one of the cool things is when I checked on the canister filter after about 4 weeks, I opened it up, wanted to see how the media was doing, making sure that nothing needed to be maintained. It looked fantastic. And so I looked at all the filter media, put it all right back in. There was really nothing to rinse out. Right back in the tank it went. And really, we're on like month 2. I'm going to go ahead and break that thing down again in the next week or so and just check on the media and make sure that nothing needs to be maintained. So this is a great thing. Again, I love the fact that we have this little red handle here, and then this whole thing can just go right back into the canister just like that, and that's how it's going to sit. And then we've got this piece right here. This is just going to slide right back in like that. Really simple. We'll push these two pads down. We'll push these two pads down a little bit. We'll get our little gray piece. Gray piece rests right on top here. We're ready to go. Now, other things you're going to get, obviously, and I've kind of already shown you this. Here's the top part. You're going to have to add this seal around the top. Make sure you do that if you forget. I actually put this thing on slightly wrong the first time around. I put it out here. It was supposed to go in here. I started this bad boy up and oh my gosh, there was some water coming out. So just make sure when you're putting this seal on here that it's actually going in the right place on the inside to seal nice and tightly. Other things you get. This is the part where the hoses connect to, just rests right in, clips right in. I'll show you that in a few minutes. I'll put this thing together for you real fast. You get a decent amount of hose. There is 3 meters or almost 10 feet. So again, if you're doing a 4-foot tank, this is plenty. If you were trying to put this on a 6-foot tank, you're probably not going to have enough to go from one end to the other. But for a 75-gallon, this is great. I don't know necessarily if you'd even want to use it on a 6-foot tank. The flow is pretty good. As you're going to see, the flow is pretty strong. When I take you over to this tank behind me, you're going to see that it moves pretty good. Other things that you're going to get, and I'll show you this so as we're looking at the tank, this piece right here, so the hose can kind of bend over the back of the frame. You get 2 of those, and it will just go ahead, and I got the suction cups are on the ground right now, but they're just going to suction cup here, holds everything in place, because you wind up with, here's your intake, nice long intake. That is a great thing, especially for a 75-gallon. Again, I'm going to show you it over there that it's working well. It has plenty of extension ability or plenty of length to go ahead and filter your 75-gallon. And then you've got the small return over here that is adjustable, so you can adjust the nozzle any direction you want. Basically, all this stuff just fits together. The hose ends just slip right in. So I wanted to show you very briefly how to put this filter, this canister filter together. You can see here that is the gasket that goes around that gray part there to keep the housing from leaking, and it does a great job. Now the next thing you're going to see me do is I'm actually going to put on the hose connectors to the actual motor itself. Really simple. It just snaps right in. That gray lever that you see when it's up like that prevents water from going into the canister. When you press it down, it will flow through the canister. There's the hose, plenty of hose for a 4-foot tank. The hose just kind of slips right into both the return and the intake. As you can see here, I've had no issues with the hose slipping out or anything like that over the last couple months that we've used this filter. I don't anticipate having too many issues. Once you really twist it in there, it is pretty darn snug. You do the same thing for the return, and once again, you're going to have a nice snug fit, and then you can adjust just how much flexibility you have there in the return when you put it over the rim of the tank, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. So that's basically, then you just take that rubber gasket and you put that in the hose connector there on top of the motor, tighten it up. Once again, it's in there very, very snug. No leaks, no water seeping out of the canister anywhere. So I don't anticipate too many issues there. But yeah, there's a very nice snug fit. You know, a lot of people ask, is this filter really sufficient for a 75-gallon? It's kicking out 383 gallons per hour. It is absolutely more than sufficient. If you look at the way the fish are in this aquarium, it's not so much like you have the FX2s, the FX4s, the FX6s. These are big canister filters. They're big, they can be heavy, and they kick out a lot of gallons per hour. This one I think is appropriate for most inhabitants of a 75-gallon aquarium. Another thing to consider is the price. This is a very affordable canister filter for what it's doing, for the amount of filtration that you're getting. Right now on Amazon, it's $230. By the way, I will put an Amazon affiliate link down in the description below if you want more information, you're interested in purchasing the filter. Those affiliate links don't cost you any extra money. It does help out the channel a little bit. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the the intake over here. Again, the rocks are partially blocking it, but it's pretty much an invisible intake. This one here, that little gray part, is much closer to the surface, so you pretty much don't see it. Again, in a 75-gallon, we've got a lot of rock work here. The intake is going down about, I would say, 3/4 of the way. So it's a pretty good, it's a great intake for this size aquarium or a 55-gallon, or pretty much any 4-foot tank that you have. And again, if you look at the fish, you can see, yeah, there's current there. You can see the shell dwellers here. They're definitely pointed towards the right, but they're enjoying that current. They're up there. There's no fish that are hiding. That's one of the things where if you've got too much current in a tank, a lot of fish will hide. They'll try to get out of it. These fish are really enjoying this filter. So that is, I mentioned the little elbow there. That's the elbow that they use just to keep, and I'm sorry, this thing's not really there. We go a little bit more focus, but that's the elbow that they use to kind of go over the end here, and you can see that is the return. Same thing over here on the other side. Again, really hard to see, sorry about that, but that's the return, and the hose just kind of, or the intake, and that hose just kind of sits there. All right, so final thoughts for right now after having this thing up and running for the last couple months. This is a great filter. Again, quiet, cost-effective, Easy to work with, easy to work on. It's not a filter that's going to give you way too much flow for a 75 gallon. It's definitely got adequate filtration capacity with those 4 chambers, plus the side chamber. It's easy to remove. 383 gallons per hour is more than enough for a 75 gallon. That means you are getting around, you're cycling that tank through the filter around 5 times an hour, which is absolutely, like I said, it's more than adequate. They give you lots of media between the biomedia and the phosphate remover and the floss and the sponge. You really do have something where you just fill it up with water, go ahead and get the suction running after you set it up, and it's just a plug-and-play situation. Like I said, we will be doing a long-term review. Give me another 8-10 months or so, probably 10 months to a year, and we'll talk about how they've been doing in the fish room here long-term, because like I said, we've got one on this tank and one on a tank that we're getting ready to set up. If you want more information on filtration and canister filters in general, or hang-on back filters, check out these videos over here to your right. Really appreciate you being here, and we'll see you in the next one.